Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
While Cortinami's score makes it appear as though he's in a good position, Andy T's form has meant he still has a realistic shot at the title. With only 22 points left available for Topi to add to his tally, T simply needs a couple of consistent finishes to overhaul the Finn. Which Raccoon Racing driver will come out on top? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Last week, we kicked off the Japanese doubleheader at Fuji, but this week, we come back to the classic Suzuka. Let's get a closer look at it with our track guide. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, this should be a challenge. This is often cited, Jake, as very much a driver's track at Suzuka.
It is a driver's track, and one of the things that I think makes this track so incredible is the fact that when Senna and Prost had their almighty moment, 1989, this track had only been on the Formula One calendar into its 4th year, only 4 years. It cemented itself with that one moment as a legendary racetrack. And why is it such a legendary track? That opening sector going up through the Snake towards Dunlop and the 2 Degner corners, that is something that legendary tracks cannot replicate. Circuits now try and make a track like this, but they absolutely can't. There is the perfect element of undulation around this track. There are perfect overtaking opportunities around here, and the ultimate driver's feel is one that you cannot replicate anywhere else in the world. Oh, and just to top it all off here, Joe, is one of the only figure 8 circuits out there on the iRacing service, save Oran Park.
Yeah, it's not common that you get this sort of configuration around the entire world in racing tracks. Indeed, as we take a look at the championship in the meantime, and Topi Kortinimi, as we said, leads on points, and that's on total points with 1 drop, helping him out. Now, unfortunately, he's not here today, we found out, just as we've went through our little track guide. He apparently has not showed up, which will slightly change things, but we still won't see Andy T take over the points lead today, no matter what he does. But if he gets maximum points, that will make it extremely easy for him to take the championship in the final round, but not a guarantee. From there on down, you've got Alex Millward and Gernot Friesche still relatively close together. That could change hands before all is said and done. Timothy Reed, who recently showed up in the Camel Series, is also within the top 5, but kind of being hotly pursued by Karthik Pai, who's been mostly consistent this season. From there, you get a bit of a battle down from 7th to 10th, where things stay far away from the rest of the field, but quite tight amongst each other. How are we sitting on the team's championship?
Well, the team's championship has been at the top for Team Essex Lotus for a while. It has been close scoring up at the top, but the gap just slightly opening out from last week. 227, a lead of 26 over Equipe Ligier-Gitanes, and then a bigger gap over to Equipe Renault Elf, the gap 41 points there. Parmalat Racing Team have really made some progress. They're trying to close that up. They're only 3 points behind, with the Vorsteiner Arrows Racing Team back another 19 from Parmalat in 5th. And then you got the 2 teams down at the bottom, Al Bilad Williams Racing and then Scuderia Ferrari. Both of those 2 teams, 3 points between them. They're fighting for the wooden spoon, Joe.
And unfortunate news for those looking for that fight with Millward is he's not here today to compete in these 23 laps that we have in the penultimate round. It's an open setup series. This is going to be an interesting one because there's a lot of areas where you'd want downforce, especially through the Snake there. That S's section that leads to Dunlop is going to be helpful, but then it's got 2 very long, fast straights where you want that straight line speed. So who's going to go what route on that one? And there's also some areas where they have very little runoff room to save them. So you don't have a spare car to help you get back into this race if you wind up with some damage running into the barriers. A drive-through penalty at 17 and a disqualification at 25 keeps them honest with some of the paved runoff. But as we said, it's also going to be quite easy to run into damage. So not sure if we'll see anybody run into those barriers of the incident points, but hopefully that will at least keep people from abusing them here today as we get the first of the drivers across the line. And as we've seen, Luis Nunez, who has been very quick in this car since he showed up, has once again got a massive gap to everybody behind on the provisional pole until Andy T tops him by a half a second. Wow.
He's just that good, isn't he, when he gets into a rhythm? He was saying he may or may not be here for this round at Suzuka, but he's turned up and he's put everybody on notice, 0.4 of a second, and this is the sort of track where you can find a lot of time around this place. Every corner has to be meticulously managed around here today. Michael de Turk goes 3rd fastest on a 45.2, but it is going to be a track reliant on the starts because there's only one, I would say, brilliant place to, or 2 brilliant places to make a pass. One comes on the back half of the track, heading to 130R in the Casio Triangle. The other one is over towards turn number 1. They effectively fold up back to back. Here is Michael de Turk taking his challenge through the snake up the hill. It plateaus up through this section, dips down the hill, so it's very easy to spin to the inside, and then you're trying to get over as far as you can to open up Dunlop and the run, of course, to the two Degner right-handers.
Yeah, those have caught out so many drivers, even in modern times. It is a tricky one in just about any car you send in there. And look at the slide that de Turk is put on his orange number 9. He is really trying to hustle this thing. He kind of played a spoiler back at Fuji and got into the midst of that fight for the championship. Will he be able to do so again today? And Nunez also has been playing that role at times, inserting himself into the equation. But we're going to watch Andy T now, Jake, to see how he finishes lap 2.
Coming out to the triangle then and descending down the hill. You've always got to be wary about how much power you put on, but it's flat out for him as he goes through and finds another 10th and a half, a 1:44.518. He is half a second clear still of Luis Nunez right now. Michael de Turk's out there on a lap, so too is Jukka Tollonen, who is 4th fastest at the moment. So there are still times to be had. Jenna Fritzsche is also out there, so de Turk really needs to find probably 0.2 of a second would make him very comfortable right now as he makes that charge through the final corner, struggling to get that turned in a little bit, and he does find the time, but not enough for position. He was 7,000 short.
Oh, just off the front row. However, he's probably in a good spot come the start of the race. Looks like Tollonen has now jumped into 4th with Fritzsche there as well. Those two very tight together, so they could change hands on their second lap. Nunez only found a 10th on his second time around. What if he made a mistake there? Because it does seem like most drivers are improving pretty drastically on the second circuit around. And it is a cool track, so I wonder if the tires are taking that bit just to get to the right temps here, Jake.
I'm wondering as well. No improvement for Fritzsche, and that is an abandon for Tollonen as he came off of the power. But that's it. That's the checkered flag out here, Joe. We can run ourselves through the grid here at Suzuka.
Indeed, and Andy T gets those 2 bonus points for pole. He's that step closer to getting a perfect score here today. Nunez is going to be starting next to him with de Turk in 3rd. After that, you've got Jukka Tollonen in P4. Gernot Fritzsche, decent qualifying for him, especially in top split, in 5th place. Can he use that good race speed to get farther up? Dylan Freckleton will be in 6th as Paul Williams starts 7th. Mr. Consistency, Karthik Pai, will be P8, followed by Timothy Reed getting himself in tonight. Xavier Sanchez, a little far down for him, only in 10th.
Only in 10th, but he's got Pepe Fuentes just behind him in 11th on row 6 with Timothy Vaughan for company. Car number 12 in position number 12. I wonder if that's an omen. Shane Seiwertz will go from 13th position, which is lucky for some, and he'll have Josep Meyer along for company in 14th position. Also in the number 14, which shows that iRacing is pretty equivalent to pace here today. Joshua Germany and Barry West will have row 8. The final row will have Chris Robertson. Failing to set a time is the 18 of Seamus Power.
All right, just about have most of them out there. In fact, it's the front half of the field that is taking their sweet time to place themselves on the grid. Wonder if there's last little tweaks that they're trying on this only 78-degree track temperature that they've got, 23 Celsius. So relatively cool as it is late in the afternoon out here in Japan. Would have thought that it'd be a little warmer than this, but they'll have to deal with it as Tollonen and Germany are going to be the last ones to place themselves on the grid. Looks like Germany's out there, and now we've got Tollonen as well. So as the engines start to rev for the penultimate round of the season, it's a long wait, and green flag is out. Andy T gets a decent jump, but Nunez is already trying to attack, get in the slipstream, see what he can do. Around the outside, de Turk is going to try and be sneaky, but it runs out of room, and he is going to have to stay 3rd in line amongst them behind them. Although there's a little bit of double file, it is a clean start here.
A clean start's exactly what everyone looked. The fight's in 5th position with Dylan Freckleton and Gernot Fritzsche as they run through. Nicely single file as they go through. One of the Ligiers of Timothy Reed was trying to figure out a way to get through and is managing okay in the middle. He's been someone who has had pace at times to move up top 5, maybe not so much today, but Andy T already looking to stretch his legs here as they exit the first sector through the 2 Degners. They will come along. It's not a place you want to be too wide. Someone's going to go straight on. That's Josep Meyer in the gravel.
I think it looks like actually Pep Meyer in the 14 who finds himself all the way off, and I think he glanced the barriers. Looks like Paul Williams is also falling backwards. He must have had a small off, but that's a small price to pay for what is a difficult start to the lap here as everybody tries to sort themselves out. Andy T still leads by about 3/4 of a second over Nunez as they head through Spoon, and here comes the first of the 2 long stretches on the lap.
Yeah, it's the run down the hill and they crest the rise. You don't notice it when you're out there driving, but just before 130R, you're actually going over the point of the track, which crosses over just after the Degners. You flick yourself left, and it is just a flick in these cars because you are flying with grip. Look how much defending that Luis Nunez is having to do. The Spaniard is looking here, there, and everywhere to try and cover off Michael de Turk. He manages it this time. They don't have some of the retrospective in-car tools available to them that modern Formula cars have. They've got to do it all on slipstream, and Michael de Turk has got that car set up wonderfully. We'll have to go the long way around. Luis Nunez covering it off into the double apexes of 1 and 2.
Yeah, he waited a long time and then finally decided I maybe should play defensive here. But de Turk, who has recovered from his injury that kept him from racing for a while, clearly has not lost much speed. He is back in the saddle, but he's got Tolinen right behind him as well. There you can see still giving chase as it is basically quite a line from second. It looks like... wow, way back there. They're not that close together, Jake, but they also have not separated by much until you get all the way down to 13th.
Yeah, it really shows that everyone's somewhat similar in terms of opening pace. They found their gaps, but expect them to stretch out as this stint goes on up into the hairpin, which at one point was Kobayashi corner because Kamui Kobayashi would be the only one to find a move there. But it is very single file right now. They're waiting for their opportunities. Maybe Shane Seiwertz is the only one who's maybe close enough to make a move right now. But as they go through 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be interesting. Look how wide they're pushing through Spoon. They want all of the road. They're actually going a little bit onto that AstroTurf on the outside. And they've got to be careful as they deal with the different properties underneath their tyres because it could very easily lead to the car spinning. Here comes de Turk again.
I think he's got that car trimmed out. He looks much faster in a straight line than Nunez. Nunez knows it. He's going to try and cover the inside. Just about squeezes his rival off the course, and he does. And de Turk has to take to the paved runoff. In fact, just clears through the gravel and decides to try and give that back up on the straight here. I'm not sure if he was upset by that one, but man, he just decided, let's just go whole hog.
Well, there's no point trying to make a corner you know you're not going to make. He does have a slow down penalty, but now he's going to have to be very cautious about how he serves it because he's got to try and serve it under brakes, and he moves over to the right-hand side, knows he's now got to serve it through. Will go one driver then in Luis Nunez. He's got to serve it in such a way that it doesn't allow Tolinen through, but there goes Tolinen. De Turk now has really got to struggle because it's on lap 2. This is going to be a horror show. He's got a lot of penalty to serve it, and now he finally serves it, but he's stuck now behind Timothy Reed. A disaster for him as he drops down to 8th place.
Well, he looks like he was very fast, but he's going to have to prove it now. And I guess that straight line speed is going to come in handy with all the overtakes that he has to do because of that. Well, I think that calms down one of our major battles. I think we've got an opportunity to potentially take a look at Meyer. And what happened into the Degners? Did he get help? No, he just tried to go too wide, and that's a big no-no.
He tried to take the higher road, but the higher road was one which was very, very windy out there. So for Josep Meyer, there's not much you can really argue about as he went through. Paul Williams having himself his own moment. That's a really weird one for Paul Williams. Not quite sure what happened for the driver in Ferrari colours, but you can see he's on the power. And he had hard locks left. That's going to be a hardware failure. The car just completely hard locks left.
I've never seen a hardware failure quite like that, and then that it came back immediately. I'm sure he's grateful for that because I would have thought that car would have veered straight into the barrier, but it did lose him some positions as we come back live. Karthik Pai in the thick of it. That's Timothy Reed in front of him, but Michael de Turk all over the back of him as they fly down the front stretch. De Turk using that top end speed to great effect, and it's going to be an easy pass for him into turn 1 as long as Pai doesn't fight back, and he does not.
Kartik Pai must be looking at himself. He's lost 2 places in the last 3 corners, so he's really falling backwards now, and that's the issue you've got. You can easily be freight trained. You'll have a chance, though, to breathe with Timothy Vaughan just behind. But I think that's the sort of hardware failure, Joe, where you just have the USB port in and out again, that it disconnects, reconnects, because he was hard on the brakes with the pedals, making sure, okay, I've got to get this car stopped because that car's not going to turn if I'm at full lock and at full brake.
Wow, great heads up on his part if that was the case. And Williams is still sitting in 15th, so he's got a lot of work to do. Pep Myers actually still last place and has caught the tail end of the field. He actually had a little bit of a slide coming into the S's himself before he was able to catch it. So I wonder if there's a slight bit of damage on that car himself here. As we watch from Timothy Vaughan's perspective, just behind Kartik Pai. This is for 8th position, heading down into Spoon Curve. Let's see what kind of straight line speed Kartik has, because I wonder if maybe that's what's hurting him here since he lost a couple positions.
Well, on the power, already over 200 kilometers an hour. They will start really rising up with pace. Now over 250, passing the east side pits as they go through, and now run themselves through 130R. So 264 there. Timothy Vaughan was already at 267 going through 130R. It's not going to be close enough, but it is getting feisty in front of them right now, because all of a sudden it is Dylan Freckleton who's having to put the binders on defense as Andy T sets the fast lap of the race. Reed and the Turk are both trying to make places through this field. Both, I would say, very comparable, but here comes the Turk now. He'll have an angle to the inside, but not alongside. It's going to lift out of it and wait for another lap to come along. He's got another 18 to figure out the passes.
Yeah, but he's still stuck in 7th, and it's going to get harder the higher up he gets. I think he knows that he's got to try and make these as quickly as possible here on lap 5. Well, Timothy Reed still within his sights, and if Reed starts to attack on Freckleton, that could easily open the door as well. I'm sure he's ready to pounce as soon as he sees a crack in the armor. But right now they come up into the Degners. Once again, a single file affair usually through here.
Single file, you got that very fast opening off camber right-hander, which leads into this very inviting right, the second of the 2 Degners, and then you're firmly in the middle sector on the brakes, looking to close up the gaps. And just behind the Turk, you got Kartik Pai, Timothy Vaughan, Pepe Fuentes is there in the mix as well, which means Javier Sanchez has had an issue out on track. He spun it just coming out of Degner 2, and his race is over.
Oh, he hit it into the barrier on the way across the track as he spun it. It wasn't a big hit, so I'm a little surprised, but it must have just reconfigured the suspension on him. Looks like we've got a replay on it. I've seen this so many times at this track. That exit curb doesn't like low-slung cars like this at all, Jake.
It doesn't. It's also more the fact that he's got that massive left rear tyre out on what is essentially AstroTurf, and because he's got different property, the 2 rear wheels, the big rear wheels, which creates all the traction and all the torque in the car, and this is a squirrely car at most times, it creates both rear wheels spinning at 2 different speeds, and that's the difference which makes the car veer off to the right-hand side, and that's why the accident happens. Still got a great scrap for second here. Jukka Tolonen hasn't been in a position to get up the inside, try and make a move, but he's just constantly there with Luis Nunez, who'll be looking behind and trying to keep himself very firmly in play. He does have one of his open wheel teammates watching him today in the form of Oliver Stepanov, so Stepanov will be keeping a close eye on Luis Nunez's progress today.
Also, Michael de Turk managed to get by Timothy Reed coming into the Casio triangle. So Tolonen not quite as lucky as Michael, but certainly looking like he's got the pace over the number 3. And Andy T has the pace over both of them. We're on lap 6, and he is up to 2.5 seconds ahead. We're back to Timothy Vaughan in the meantime. This is on board the 12, looking for 8th position on Kartik Pai down into the hairpin. Quite a bit of camber into this corner, and they're trying to use it to their best advantage as it slings them out into 200R.
And this long right-hander does not feel like much, but you do have to put a surprising amount of turn into the car. You have to look at your brake marker. I normally use the exit road on the right-hand side to hit the brakes as you go through. And this is off camber as well. Track falls away from you on the exit of Spoon. It's very easy to take too much out of it. And suddenly, here comes Nunez and Tollenan up the inside will steal away. Second position. There's a Finn behind Andy T, but it's not the one that we normally seem to expect. That was just a fantastic run through the middle sector, which opened up Tollenan to the race lead, or to second position, and Eyes trying to chase the race lead.
Nunez is going to see if he can do anything back at him, but as he follows in the slipstream, he's not close enough. Also, Michael de Turk managed to overtake Freckleton, once again heading into the Casio Triangle. That's up to 5th now for the number 9. Again, he probably would have been looking at a potential 2nd place, as we're going to take a look at the replay on that pass. Did he even get him before 130R? Ooh, this is brave. This is very brave. Freckleton tries to hang tough, but he runs out of road.
Yeah, that's just great car placement from Michael de Turk, because he just gives Dylan Freckleton one option. I'm ahead of you, it's my corner, and I'm taking all the road. So the only way you're going to hold it around the outside of me is if you take off to the escape road, and that's not quick by any stretch of the imagination. So well driven there by Michael de Turk, knowing how wide his car is, how aggressive he needs to be with it, and it brings him back up to 5th. He's got about 4 seconds to chase now to get to Journo Fritzsche, and Timothy Reed now will be seeing Dylan Freckleton out there, who's been really quick in the last couple of weeks. I've been really impressed with how Dylan's been driving, but I think for Timothy Reed, he wants to get close enough where he can say, I'm making progress, and I'm making good progress, because there are some drivers that I'm thinking about. There's some teams battles that I'm thinking about, and Timothy Reed will love every point he can get to help his Ligier team close up to the Essex Lotus.
Freckleton with a big slide there coming off of Spoon Curve does not help things at all. Reed starts to gain in, but he's going to have to make a real lunge here coming into the Casio Triangle if he wants to get an overtake done. He's not willing to risk it quite yet. He's going to sit and stay patient, maybe setting himself up for the front stretch. It looks decent, but again, I don't know if this is going to be near enough to him.
I'm not sure if it's going to be near enough. Timothy Reed's going to try everything in terms of making this pass. He's not going to be close enough. A little bit further behind. They are fighting. You can see two right in the back. As this the first one, Kartik Pai having to defend from Timothy Bourne. He does so, but Paul Williams is also in a scrap right now with Joshua Germany. They've been fighting all the way along the back stretch, and Germany has done very well to hold that. There was just 100th between them at the line.
So Williams will have to try again later. He's well out of position, 5 down from where he started in this race. You got to think that he's probably going to have slightly better pace, but we've seen, though passing is possible and there's some good ones around here, it can be tricky in its own right, but Andy T hasn't had to pass a single soul. He's still leading the way. Last I saw, he had the fastest lap, and yes, indeed, he still holds that, which means if things finish as they sit, he will get a perfect score today.
A perfect score would be fantastic for him, and this track is not only going to get quicker, but these cars will get quicker. Of course, they're filled up to maximum. There's no refueling in this series, so as the car gets lighter and drains the fuel, effectively you get a car that goes a bit quicker, 1/10 of a second a lap, offset by the tyres going off. So expect maybe half a second to a second's worth of time improvement as this race goes on, as Timothy Reed crests the rise then and looks to try and figure out where to make the pass on Dylan Freckleton. Not going to get it done at 130R. Big wiggle as he tries to pivot for an angle halfway in the draft, half out. It's like dipping one toe in the water to see if it's hot enough, and he's not quite there, and he doesn't get the run through the triangle.
He was tempting fate running so close behind him through 130R. I'm glad he was able to hold on to the car. So Freckleton remains in 6th position for now as they cross the line to start lap 9 of this race. And wow, things are getting feisty a little bit farther back as we watch Germany and Williams. And it looks like Williams has now managed to overtake him, but Germany is trying to make him fight for it down into turn 1, unable to do so. I'd love to see how that changed hands. I'm trying to see when that happened exactly.
That would have been around 130R that position moved just after it and into the triangle. Williams just with a great run deeper on the brakes. Exactly what he did the lap before, Joe. But the good news is he pulled it up this time, and that's why he was able to hold it off. So going through 130R here, you can see he just gets a great run. He just keeps it up in that high cadence, hits the brakes a little bit later, does run slightly deep, but he manages to get that car cornered back off again and covered, and that was all that was needed to make sure that position was there and held. In terms of that, that might have been a lap earlier where the battle continued on with himself and Joshua Germany, where Germany got back through on the inside.
So Germany now down to 12th, Williams up to 11th because of that, but Timothy Reed still can't get by Karthik Pai despite his best attempts, and they come up along the backstretch themselves as they head towards 130R. That's been the scene of some interesting action today. Will that carry on? Looks a little too far back, I think, for Vaughn to try and get close enough here. And indeed, he's going to have to sit behind. Oh, in front of them, though, Freckleton stuck in it once again. They almost make wheel-to-wheel contact, just giving barely enough room. And Timothy Reed, unfortunately, gets a little bit of net code into the side of him. He pulls in back behind, and he's going to get another bite at it as they come down into turn one. Freckleton does not defend. He's going to hold to the outside. Reed should have this done, and he does.
He does, and I wouldn't have said there was much in that, but Timothy Reed was pinching at that section of road. He's lucky he's got the place. There wasn't really anywhere that Dylan Freckleton could have gone on that inside. I think Timothy Reed was far too aggressive. He's lucky he's got that place. He's very much now cost himself about 5 seconds, though, in terms of chasing Michael to turn back down. Dylan Freckleton, give him some credit. He fought hard for it. But Timothy Reed, I think, just left a little bit too little on the inside of the final corner, which is so easy to do.
You know, at first I wondered if Dylan was maybe giving the position up because he thought maybe he was to blame for that. Now I kind of wonder, you know, as you described it and I looked at it again, maybe he just thought, this guy's crazy. I'm just going to let him have it.
That very easily can happen, especially when you consider you've only got 17 instant points around this circuit. You have less than an instant point per lap to use up, which is a very scary place to be in if you're first time in these vehicles. These drivers, of course, aren't, but you have to be pretty precise with the way you go through. And if you make any contact or any substantial contact, Joe, you lose 4 of them. So all of a sudden, you have 1 maybe for every 1 and a bit laps. You suddenly use 4 of them. That's 5 laps you're going to have to drive perfectly to recover the net that you've lost in terms of your incident points.
Absolutely. So Reed is ahead. Freckleton is behind. That's 6th and 7th, respectively. Karthik Pai. Oh, and a little bit off goes Timothy Reed. What happened there?
I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to have another look myself. He goes through the final corner, and the car just sits up. I wonder if he gave that one back.
Yeah, I was trying to see if that's the case as well. It could be that or maybe missed a shift.
It's a weird place to miss a shift there, Joe, because you're right there on the exit. I wouldn't expect either that the car would just straighten up like that. He was 80. In fact, he just stayed. It looked like he had no drive off the exit. That surely had to be. He was completely off the throttle. He had to have let them through.
The thing is, though, that seems like a silly place to do that because he let Pai and Vaughn both past as well. I don't know. I'm a little bit baffled because I feel like he maybe could have done it a little bit of a wiser place if that was the intent, because it certainly cost him. Meanwhile, this is the battle for P2, not going away. Tolinen being chased by Nunez. Tolinen in the orange and red, the white and red Ferrari of Nunez just behind. As we hop on board with the Finn, despite being able to make that overtake, doesn't seem like he's been able to shake him since then.
This is a battle for second, third here, and Joe, crucially, 4th as well, because Gernot Fritzsche has closed that gap within 1.4 seconds, and that puts him in a range where if these two start fighting, and Luis Nunez is certainly eyeing up some moves into the triangle here, as we'll be over the halfway stage, as Andy T crosses the start-finish line and does so now, moving on to lap 12 of this race with another fastest lap, because why not? This is where the second half of the race becomes important, how you find some moves. I can also note that Josep Meyer is out of the race. He has retired the car in the number 14. He was closing back up to Seamus Power and Barry West, and it looks like he had himself an issue going through Spoon and said, you know what, this race isn't for me, that'll do it.
So that's 2 drivers we've lost. We're down to 16 left, poking and prodding. Nunez trying to see if he can scare Yuka off the line, potentially coming through the snake, but nothing doing there. It's going to be difficult to try and rustle a fin, especially in this car, which they have been known to be incredibly strong in. Many championships, many race wins for various Finns throughout the field. We head back to Timothy Reed. Well, he gave up the positions. Now it's his task to try and get them back, and he's got 3 directly in front.
3 directly in front, but you've got to pick them off one at a time here with Timothy Vaughan, with Kartik Pai, with Dylan Freckleton all there. It's going to be difficult, and you'll have to look behind as well at Pepe Fuentes, who'll be trying to consider a way to get through. So this is a 5-car train here in the middle, and it does get difficult to make a pass because everyone's got the same slipstream as the car in front. So effectively, the biggest weapon in your arsenal is negated for everyone in this train, and that's what makes it difficult here as they head through Spoon.
Well, Fuentes translates to spring in English, so I think Pepe is going to have to spring an attack if he wants to try and get a move done. And that could be a viable strategy on Reed. He's going to be distracted by those in front of him as they come through 130R and breaking down hard into the Casio Triangle. Nobody really poking their nose out.
Nobody really showing anything right now because they don't have enough drive to make that happen. You could go to the 101 Sim Racers Handbook, which is getting the mirrors, as Luis Nunez tries to figure out a pass on Yuka Tolonen. Unable to find that. I do wonder, Joe, sometimes whether Yuka has a sister called Laylee at some point in time, but at least right now, Luis Nunez trying to find a way through, can't manage it at this stage.
Yeah, that defense is going to be music to his ears, no doubt, and Nunez is going to have to try harder to see if maybe he can crack that glass. But for the time being, they'll stay in order. Freisha now down to about a second behind them. He is slowly but surely gaining. And I mentioned earlier, his qualifying pace has become known as his weak point compared to his race pace, which is an incredible strength of his as he gets faster as the race goes. And it's down now down to under a second as well.
Under a second because they are starting to get a little closer and use different lines out there, and there's the comparison lap on lap, and it hasn't been dramatic in terms of the way he's closed down that gap. He has literally been chipping away like an artisan at this point in time, and Jenna Freacher isn't doing masses of damage, but he's doing more than enough to say, don't make a mistake. You've got to be perfect on that move. I wonder if Freacher, if he stays at this gap or continues to chip away like this, how much of a chance he'll actually have to make a move, because Tolonen and Nunez have been pretty decent in terms of keeping each other accountable on this run.
Need to check and see. I'm looking at my stats here to see if Freacher has finished on the podium yet this season, because it's not particularly looking like it from the numbers I'm seeing in his column. But Vaughn, who we watch on board with, sees a good opportunity for Karthik Pai down the front stretch. Pai is very close to his rival now, but it looks like maybe not close enough. He's not going to pop out as they approach turn 1. He'll stay in place.
He will. No chance they're making the move, but how good is Timothy Vaughan under brakes? Goodness me. He's able to just lift in on the brakes, be a little bit lighter, and still scrub the speed off and get himself into the apex of these corners. Kartik Pai is a lot more traditional in that sense, but Timothy Vaughan looks like he's got a rocket ship under him when it comes to braking.
By the way, for Freacher, a single podium this season, round 2 at Bathurst, and after that, he has not been able to step on the top 3 steps yet. So if he can maybe pull one over on Nunez, I'm sure he'll be pleased as punch for that one. Ooh. But I think we've had an incident for Shane in the 16 car.
Yeah, Cyrus, that's a big one over at Dunlop, and it's all on his own as Kartik Pai now has to really defend as he goes through. It's just a case of taking too much of the track, Joe, through this section, down the hill, trying to be aggressive, rear right in the grass, and the car's only going to go one way here, Joe. It's going around.
Oh, man, I thought for sure he was going to wind up in the barrier there, but a great job keeping it from ending up in the tires as we come back to the battle for P2. And Tolanen's got to watch out. Nunez almost all the way to the inside of the track, but still there's no room at the end. Freisha is using that to great advantage. He's now caught up to within half a second. Another chance for Luis. Is he going to be able to do something into turn one, almost down to the pit wall for the number 5? The Finn starts to go back. He leaves the door open. Nunez is going to try and step through, but no, he shuts the door.
That's so brave from Luis Nunez, but the issue he had was indecisiveness, Joe. He looked like he had 5 stabs at the attempt to go through. We're going to go 3 wide, though, between Vaughan, Reed, and Pye as they go through. And it's going to be Vaughan losing the back end as he goes through. 2 attempts to get that turn, 3 attempts to get that turn. Finally goes through. He gains nothing for his troubles. Timothy Vaughan gets past Kartik Pye, and off the road is going to go Pepe Fuentes.
Whoa, he must have gotten distracted by the fight. He just went straight on when he approached the snake, lost himself no positions, actually. He was caught up by Paul Williams because of it, but was able to carry on. It's all kicking off now because the battle for second is still close. Don't even have time for a replay on this one. That was Timothy Reed, who almost lost the car in turns 1 and 2, going just a little bit too wide, but great catch from that blue and white machine.
Yeah, fantastic catch because he had to do it multiple times. It's so easy to catch it the first time and think the job's done. It wasn't. He had the ability to catch it twice, 3 times in the end to make sure that happened. And now as they charge up the hill, second, third and fourth, Luis Nunez has got to try and gear it up again. Shown a little bit of the hand earlier on, moving through 130R, uses a lot of the curve, but this is where power is there. He's got 6 kilometers an hour as he moves in under braking, gets it fantastically stopped, but it's all about power off the exit of the triangle, which determines whether the move will be completed or not. Looks like it's good, but Jukka Tolonen certainly has an opportunity to think about it. He's staying on the left-hand side. Luis Nunez tries to cover it off, then it's going to try and pinch and pinch and pinch as they go towards turn 1, but he'll get just about what he needs. Oh, he has a big moment in the middle, and up and under, Jukka Tolonen, experience prevailing.
Amazing stuff between these two. He placed that car perfectly as soon as the car slid up, cut underneath, and Tolonen was passed. So back up into second place after briefly losing, and that was a textbook maneuver from Nunez as well, into the Casio triangle. Oh, and things have gone south behind them between Vaughan, Reed, and Pye. They've actually made contact. I think they're all 3 able to keep carrying on, but it's getting rough in the mid-pack.
Oh, it is. They were almost 3 wide into 1. Timothy Vaughan got a little bit of the curb on the inside of 1. Then the back end started to fishtail. It slowed everyone up. Timothy Reed decided to jump down the inside and got both of them around the outside of turn 3. Then it was Pye and Vaughan who came together. So a couple of Timothys getting past the Pye.
Whew. And I'm glad to see them able to carry on, because wheel-to-wheel touching in these cars usually is a death knell. Somebody's going to wind up in the barriers. Big slide off the hairpin for Vaughan. Kartik Pye still able to try and re-attack if he desires it, but doesn't look like he's got the opportunity into Spoon this time. Let's see if he can hold tight running through this long double apex left-hander and get the launch onto the back stretch. No, absolutely not. Vaughan was way better, and well, here we go again. Tolonen on Nunez, or reverse that around. Nunez trying to make the attack on the number 5. He could have another shot, but it seems like the straight line speed has gone to the Finn thus far.
It has, and I think now it's about being brave, and Luis Nunez is getting bottled up and frustrated. It's so deep on the brakes goes Tolonen through 1. Nothing Luis Nunez can do. I was watching them coming into the triangle. We just caught the back end of it because he had to commit to an angle, went to the outside, very nearly took the rear left tyre clean off as he went by, did one Mr. Luis Nunez. So he's got work to do if he wants to chase this down. He's taking a very shallow angle as he goes through the Dunlop corner because he's trying to mitigate as much of the dirty air, those turbulences, as possible.
Well, it may have been only 18 in this top split, but it is giving us a heck of a race out here today. And coming down into the braking for the hairpin, finally getting some clear air between our top 3. Ooh, shallow off the run, though, for Tolonen, but the line works. That's a bit surprising.
Yeah, the line does work. There are many ways you can take that hairpin corner, and one of the best ways is to get in tight and get out tight and effectively just run, take the next corner as it comes along, and he's doing really well here. This is where you've got to be aggressive. A little bit of correction needed though as he went through Spoon, but that's okay because he knows that behind Luis Nunez is a lot further back than he has been on previous laps, so he gets not much of a chance to breathe, but a chance to breathe. And just look in the background there, that's Michael de Turk, 45.8 that last time by. That was 0.6 of a second quicker than all of these drivers. He might have something to say.
He's given it his darndest to get up there, but as our top three come onto the front stretch, yeah, I think Nunez has cranked way too much wing into this thing because Tolanen is just able to pull away, even giving the tow to that number 3 car each and every lap around. Can de Turk catch them in time here today with only 6 laps remaining? By the way, we do have a leader of this race. His name's Andy T. We haven't shown him because he's still about 10 seconds ahead of everything.
It's the biggest compliment you can give a race leader is not to show them. It sounds very counterproductive, but if you've got no one around you, you're dominating a race so much. We know where you are, we know what you're doing, and you are on top of the world right now. There's no reason to show Andy T. He is driving a masterclass once again as he goes through. Depends actually where you are, north or south of the country, Joe, how you say his name, because if you're in the north of the country, it's Andy T, but if you're on the south of the country, it's Andy Dinner.
As we come around to 200R once again, Nunez still chasing Tolanen. Not sure what that one translates to, but right now it's translating to a second place if he can just hold him back for a bit longer. He has had to fight back against the Spaniard a couple times, so it's not a foregone conclusion. But if he can limit those mistakes, it looks like he's making life extremely difficult for that number 3.
He is making life difficult in the sense that he cannot get close enough to make the move. He gets, again, closer on the brakes. There's about a car length they go in, and lovely through the middle of the corner from Luis Nunez. He's able to close that right up, but that's where the dirty air hits. Down the hill through the right. That's where the time goes. It's downhill all the way through here as well on the run towards turn number 1. And now all the way to the pit wall trying to cover it off. Tolanen's got it perfect on board with Geno Fritzsche, who's probably got the best popcorn seat in the house, hoping that a very aggressive Luis Nunez finds a way past Tolanen or otherwise so he can jump in and just steal one away in the latter stages. This is where his experience comes in of not showing his hand early. He's not really done anything untoward in this race.
Yeah, he's also not made any attacks on them that I've been able to see. So I'm wondering if this is his full pace, if he's going all out to try and stay with them, or if he is trying to stay patient, because he's waiting a long time if he's trying to stay patient, and I would think he needs to try and start making moves soon. Also, behind them, you talked about de Turk last lap by. Well, these drivers actually pulled away from him for the most part. I think the only one slower than de Turk was Tolanen at the front of this group. The other two were quicker.
Oh, and just as we say that, as a mistake for Geno Fritzsche going through the hairpin. He really had to fight the car on the exit to get the car pointed in a straight line. And as such, he's now dropped outside of range from these drivers. He's about 8/9 of a second. He's really having to fight to keep himself in this group, and that's only going to give more help to Michael de Turk, because if he can get within a second of Geno Fritzsche, he's got a chance to latch on and make some moves late. But here comes Luis Nunez now with a run through 130R. He's definitely got a chance now here at the triangle. Tolanen defends to the inside. Nunez is being patient here because it's such a heavy defense from Tolanen. He's going to pick the run up off of the exit. Into the 44s goes Andy T, but here comes Luis Nunez.
Oh, this is going to be tough if you're Nunez, because he's not very fast. Remember, once they get to the end of the straight, he's got the toe. He's going to look to the inside. Tolanen stays brave on the outside, and he gets edged out as there he goes through. This time, once again, he slides a little bit wide, but the cutback does not work as well. He covers it off, and Nunez remains in front this time. He gets P2 back.
Oh, that's so good from Nunez. He was dicing on the limit of what Yuka Tolanen would give him through turn 1, and that was fantastic. Luis Nunez knew that he had to be greedy when he took that move, and he did so. Had to fight for it as well at turn 3, but that is just confidence from the young Spaniard that you absolutely know is going to hold him in good stead for another decade at least.
Michael Detert gained by 4/10 on Gernot Friesche last time by. It's down to a 1.5 seconds. Just one more of those, and he'll just about be within range to pull up to the back of him. He'll need every lap he can get. Remember, Michael started this race in 3rd. He's in 5th. He still needs a couple to go to get back where he began, let alone gaining positions. And it's been a magnificent drive from that number 9 car, but the work is not done yet.
The work certainly isn't, and just because you've got up to the back doesn't mean you can get through. Speaking of trying to get through, here's Timothy Reed. He's got his eyes on Dylan Freckleton once again. Now remember, there was a lot of who and ah and who here and there and down the inside at Spoon. Oh, he's lost it. They're both gone. They're both gone.
Oh, so both are off the track. And it looks like Timothy Vaughn will be able to get back on there, and he'll take 6th place. Pye is up to 7th rather. Freckleton is able to return in 8th position, but Reed all the way down to 11th after the car just would not retain the grip.
Eyes bigger than the belly, saw it on the inside, hits the brake. You can see he was outside of the groove on that inside line. The rear end stepping out, didn't have that natural grip that's there, the rubber laid down by the iRacing dynamic track system. Because he's out there on the dirty stuff, the marbles, he's not got as much braking property there, and he's got to be careful. They are fighting, by the way, on the front stretch, Paul Williams and Pepe Fuentes right now, and this is a big move here because this is for the top 10.
Around the outside, once again, we've seen this before, but they're going to remain side by side as Reed now watches, but it looks like his car might be damaged. He was slow off the turn, and there is the move done for Fuentes, denying Williams another of his spots. He's been attacking since the Casio triangle. Got to stay pretty much single file here through the snake. Not many chances to actually make effective passes here, so have to regroup and try again later.
Certainly will have to regroup, but they are running out of time. It'll be 2 laps to go when they next cross, and these drivers, 9th, 10th and 11th, I hate to say it, but one of these drivers is going to leave very disappointed that they've not got a top 10. Someone like Timothy Reed, for example, will be very disappointed that he's in this position to begin with, because he should be miles away. He should be fighting with the likes of Nunez, Tolan and Friesche with the pace that he's got today.
Yeah, this is certainly going to be utter disappointment for guys like Williams and guys like Timothy Reed, but this is looking like a pretty good run to me. Coming out of Spoon Curve, let's see what the backstretch holds in store for them. Paul Williams under threat from that number 8, closing in as they approach 130R. He covers off the inside just to dissuade his rival.
Yeah, he had to, because he was in trouble, and now he makes the best defense possible. Attack the driver in front, around the outside, as he goes through. Fuentes trying to sneak away down the inside. Reed with nowhere to go as he figures it out. But Paul Williams, for not having the best run, a wiggle through the middle of Spoon and all the way out over the exit curb. He's now got to defend, and this might be 2 in 1 here as they try and go. Which way are you going to go, Fuentes? To the inside, he lifts out of it. Reed's going to go the long way around, trying to make this pass, and he'll manage it into the top 10.
My goodness, take your pick on the highlight reel from this race. It's been non-stop. Williams was aggressive on the defense after the chicane. He immediately cut back across to try and keep the over-under from happening with Fuentes. And in fact, that cost Pepe the spot to Reed in the end as well. So Reed back up into the top 10. In the meantime, we're down to 2 laps to go. We haven't seen anything happening up in that battle for P2, so that's why we haven't checked out that one. Something's happened to Timothy Vaughn, though. Vaughn is off the track, and that looks like severe damage to the car, crabbing. I think it looks like he's maybe going to try and bring this thing home, but he's probably not going to be able to do much more than 15th.
Yeah, that's a shame. And once again, this point of the track, back end steps out. Oh, he tried to catch it 3 times. He's so unlucky.
Whoa.
He tried to catch it once, twice. He very nearly took Kartik Pye and Dylan Freckleton out of the race. But he's so unlucky as he goes through. Let's take a look from Kartik Pye's view from Club Texas as he goes through onto this. He's on the brakes, goes through the first thing. Now, he'll see this right in front of him. Through the second, up, car in front. Which way is he going to go? Back onto circuit. Had to move right at the last available opportunity. The reason why Vaughan will be continuing, though, Joe, as a round's gone someone else, actually. That's Timothy Reed who's gone round in this race. So Reed's off and around. But the point I'm trying to make is mechanical black flags only are served in 4 laps. You have to serve them within 4 laps, which means you can make the end of the race if you've got one.
Yeah, and Vaughn actually went off at spoon curve again as he was trying to recover. Reed, maybe distracted, spins his own car. Reed falls down to 16th. Man, barely getting back.
Freach's through.
Preach
is up to third here, Joe. He's got the move done at turn 1, last lap.
Wow. So much going on that we had missed that pass for third place for the podium. In fact, they're still battling. They're still side by side. Freesia, and he squeezes Tolanen off, coming off of the hairpin. Thankfully, he's able to retain the car without sliding into the barriers. But again, it is getting aggressive out on the track here on the last lap of the race. Bad news for Vaughn. He decided to pit in. He's not able to take it to the checkered flag, but this man will. Andy T, maximum points unless somebody gets an amazing lap here at the very end. He took the pole, he took the fastest lap, and now he takes the win in the #1 car here at Suzuka.
Too good. Just too good. And Michael de Turk is not done. He thinks he's got a chance here off the exit. Can he get a run as he thinks about fourth against Jukka Tolanen? Tolanen looks like he's going to survive. He will survive. It's a short run to the start-finish line. Great recovery, but oh my goodness, Jerna Freacher, what a move. Can't it by not safe either, because here's going to come Freckleton. This is going to be a big move on the recovery. He's got enough of a run. He'll have to go the long way if he wants to make this happen on the brakes. How late do you want to go? He's going to be forced down a channel he doesn't want to go through, and he has to back out.
He tried to cling by a fingernail as long as he could. Great defense by Pi to claim that 6th place. That consistency really working out well, but he's not afraid to mix it up. Freckleton will take 7th, and Fuentes just crosses the line a little slow. Did he have an issue? Oh, he went straight through. He might actually get a penalty unless he served that in time. That was bizarre. I think, do we have a replay of this? Yeah, he just goes straight on.
If he hasn't served it, he'll get an extra 30 seconds on his time. And he had to hit the brakes as late as possible. You can see straight on. There's no point trying to make that moto chicane as you go down there, which used to be the chicane that they ran through in the 80s and 90s, that far down. But ultimately for Pepe Fuentes, a shame there, but it looks like, at least from scoring that I can see, he served his slowdown penalty before he reached the finish line.
Ooh, let's catch our breath. We'll take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Suzuka. This place gave us an absolute stunner and Andy T was the winner of it all. He was about the only one that had a boring race. Everybody else had all kinds of action throughout. He went from lights to flag as Nunez did finish where he started in second, but that is definitely not the whole story for him. Had to fight with Frisha and Tolinen the entire race to get it back. Frisha did finish in third in the end. Tolinen, who looked like maybe he was going to keep that second place with his straight line speed for much of the event, just couldn't hold them off. So had to settle for fourth. Michael de Turk tried to get a little bit higher up. He seems pretty irate in the post race as he feels he got shoved off the course that set him backwards early on. Climbed back to fifth in the end. Karthik Pai was sixth position as Dylan Freckleton wound up P7. Paul Williams was enjoying his battles with Pepe Fuentes, and Paul took eighth place. Josh Germany wound up ninth. Pepe is going to round out our top 10.
Going to move over the page then to 11th, where Seamus Power, who started at the back of the field, was able to move up to 11th. Chris Roberts and Barry West had a great scrap towards the end that we didn't catch on cameras, but they finished 12th and 13th. You then had Shane Seiwertz, who had a massive off going through Dunlop. He manages to get 14th position and also be the last finisher on the leading lap, with Timothy Vaughan and Timothy Reed both having great races until the point they both ran into trouble. That's why they are 15th and 16th. And then the two retirees, Josep Meyer in 17th position and Javier Sanchez having an early ending to his race. A shame for Heike 360 ES.
Looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us. Andy, as I said, as I was going through results, I think you're the only one that had a boring race today. Did it feel boring from your perspective?
Yeah, man, I had like really bad sleep last night, so I was trying to stay awake and focus on corners. And it didn't help that on the last lap, my steering wheel disconnected in Spoon, so I lost gear shifting. And then it came back on the exit. Oh, that could have been scary.
Well, that would have been quite a shocker after leading so dominantly for the entire race. Not only that, you took the pole in the fastest lap, so a perfect score today. And I'm pretty sure you knew the score coming into this up against Topi and how you did have those drop weeks to your advantage. So knowing that he didn't show, how confident does that make you feel with a 4-point gap to try and overtake in that last round?
I think I need 16 points if Topi has a perfect race. So providing I show up and don't do anything stupid, I'm quietly confident, but we'll see. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, knowing how the drops were so in your favor. And the next one out is going to be at Silverstone, another classic circuit and kind of home territory for you. So I got to imagine that is just raising your confidence all the more.
Yeah, I love that track. It's so much fun. I mean, it's similar in a sense to Suzuka. It has some fast sweepers, but it has some really horrible low-speed stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. I have just no practice time, so I'll just have to show up and hope I can get the points I need.
All right. Well, best of luck on that, Andy. And again, congratulations on another victory.
Thanks. Quick shout out to Hoops, the fam, and the little monster. You're all the best.
That was Andy T, your winner here today. And behind him in third, Gernot Frisha waited a long time to get up into that position, but Jake, he eventually got there.
They don't ask you how you get position 3. They ask you how many position 3s you've got. And Zherna, you had to wait right until the very end. It looked like Luis and Yuka were just determined to keep that gap at around a second to 8/10, make life difficult for you to get close. But the moment that it started just opening up for you, it looked like the opportunity arose just at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been close to them all race long, so I think they've been a little bit quick in the beginning, and I've picked up pace in the second half of the race, so I managed to close the gap and then was in the popcorn position, so I had fun watching them. And of course, I always waited for them to make mistakes. They made just slight mistakes maybe, so I really had to wait a long time until I got an opportunity.
Well, the opportunity arose for you. You did absolutely fantastically in terms of putting your race together, but it looked like everyone who was keeping an eye out on, okay, where's the right place to strike? How aggressive do you need to be? it looked like it was a game of staying in that slipstream and staying close. So how did you manage to find dealing with the turbulences around the circuit, which opened up then the chance to get the attack out of Spoon and lead then the double strengths of the slipstream to get to where you needed to in terms of the move at turn one?
I didn't really have big problems in dirty air. I think I was running maybe a little bit lower downforce than the other two guys, so my chance was on the final straight, and I was lucky that Yuka made a small mistake coming out of the last chicane there. So yeah, then I got my chance to pass and try to do it in the outside because Lewis was pulling to the left, so I got some slipstream as well there, and I think that made it possible to pass. In the end, I've been lucky as well because I had minor contact with Yuka in the last lap in that last hairpin. I think it started with a ghost contact actually, so a bit bad luck in the beginning, but that ghost contact made my car turn to the right even more, so then I squeezed Yuka a bit, so sorry for that. But yeah, we've been lucky to get out of that.
Let's talk then about next week, because there is stakes for you in terms of that. You are driving around in the Essex Lotus. You're in charge of the team's championship at this point in time. And you look at Silverstone, a classic circuit for classic racing, pretty much the perfect end for this classic Lotus series. What are you looking at? Are you hoping to just consolidate that team's championship outright?
I think the team's championship is pretty much decided because I just saw that Timothy didn't finish well in this one. So I think we extended our lead and it will be hard for the other guys to catch up if it's even possible. I don't know. Of course, Silverstone is a great track to end the season. So is Suzuka. I think Suzuka is really one of my personal favorites, and Silverstone also perfectly suits the Lotus 79. So these are just fantastic tracks in contrast to some others that we've been running this season.
Well, the proof is there with your second podium of the season. Journo, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you for this third place today?
Oh, just as usually, I want to thank the other guys in this series, also those doing all the organizing and admin stuff. And yeah, of course, thanks to you guys for doing great broadcasts every week. So yeah, congrats to Andy and Luis for the other podium position. See you guys next week.
No worries at all, though. Journo Fritzsche joining us then and getting third position overall. It's a nice return to form, Joe.
It is indeed. And we've got fourth place Jukka Tolvanen just off the podium, which I'm sure is frustrating after spending so much in second place. To us, Jukka, it looked like you had the car pretty well trimmed out and very fast in a straight line. Is that accurate?
Well, not if comparing to Gernot, so I knew he has crazy top speed. I think it was like 6 or 7 kilometers per hour more, so I kind of knew that if Gernot gets behind me on the last laps, I will be done. And well, I guess I had maybe a little bit less wing than Luis had, but he had maybe a little bit more pace, so it was exciting, and I really didn't know how to keep the spot. We were going through the first corner and last corner side by side multiple times, and I wasn't really sure even which line would be the best to keep the spot. But yeah, at least it was entertaining race. A little bit frustrating ending, but yeah, this is racing at its best, so no can do. And also on the second last lap, I made that little mistake into the chicane, so I decided that I will just push absolutely everything to try to catch Luis and get a chance to the first corner or on the last lap maybe, or the chicane, but then I just braked a little bit too late and locked up, and then my front tires were boiling and the car didn't want to turn out of the chicane, so Gernot got quite easy overtake there, especially with his top speed. So yeah, sometimes it goes this way, but I guess it was entertaining.
I saw there was a little bit of an apology from Gernot about potential ghost contact. Was that in reference to the hairpin on the last lap? Because it looked like you got a little squeeze there.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that Gernot leaves me the space to the right side of the track since, well, it seemed like he had quite, well, he wasn't that fast in the hairpin, so I was able to stay next to him just barely, so it was quite close situation, and it's easy to miss such moments. But I was just hoping that I can keep there on his side, and then could challenge him into the spoon. Could have been quite dangerous, of course, but yeah. Anyway, I had really nothing to lose. But yeah, luckily nobody died, so that's not a big issue.
I'm glad to hear that pragmatic view of it. Sometimes it's if everybody gets away with it, all's good that ends well. But we head off to Silverstone. Will we see you for the finale to mix it up with these guys yet again?
I'm not sure yet. Maybe that I'm not joining Silverstone, but then I'm fully back for the next season. So we have been trying to hype the next season up with Michael and Timo and Pauli. We all are committed to do the next season, so we will get a nice championship. So yeah, definitely I'm back for the season start then.
Well, I look forward to that for sure. Congratulations, at least on a top 5 here today, and can't wait to see you back on the track, sir.
Thanks. Bye.
That was Jukka Tolan in 4th place, which is going to wrap up our interviews here today. So we want to give a big thank you to the community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thanks to the team today, Jake, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, which we've got links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race, as we mentioned, Silverstone will be Sunday, September 4th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. That'll be the last race of the season. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we've got listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.